Looks like our music got cut through, so I can probably just give us an early start, and that's never a bad idea. So let me just take screen share. Or wait a minute, is it starting? Yeah, it is, looks like. Okay, so let's hear the video and then get back to it. Isn't that just the best way to start this presentation? I literally love it. Let me just share my screen. All right. It's before we get started, I want to also acknowledge, like, look at the chat. Like, people from all over the world have joined this conversation. So really, really excited to have you all. But let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on wherever you are dialing in from. This is Employee Center Academy, and our topic for today is content governance. All right, so if you're new to Employee Center Academy, we want to just like set the context for what these Academy sessions are. These are essentially sessions that we have designed for you as our customer. And is attended by product and engineering. And this is essentially a session for you to ask questions and interact with us. The goal is not to give you a presentation. It is to actually configure the product live and take your questions and literally showcase what the product has offered for you. We do this monthly, so we will be back again next month, and the session for next month is going to be on Manager Hub. Typically, when you register for one of these sessions, you should be receiving invites for like the monthly sessions in your inbox. So keep an eye out for it. Now, We have a really good set of panelists attending this session. So please make use of that. Anything that you saw in the video, anything that you would want to like ask us for questions, please use the Q&A panel for that. We do have a chat, but chat is for fun, and we want to use that for any comments, any interaction you would want to have with your fellow participants on this. Please use chat for that. And the slides and video recording for this will be available later on. So don't worry about it. And during the session, focus on what we are presenting and what we are talking about. And the slides and the video will be available via YouTube after the session. It takes about a week or so for this to be completed. So please be patient. So I already mentioned the topic for today is content governance. We will take a broad as well as a very focused lens of content governance, and you will see me talk at different angles around it. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Pooja Gupta. I'm a senior manager of outbound product management within the Unified Employee Experience team at ServiceNow. And I'm joined by two of my very esteemed colleagues. I'm pretty sure you know both of them in our past sessions. One is Corey Lehman. He's he's the lead product manager for all our employee communications capabilities, and Rafa, who leads the engineering team corresponding to the same product. Corey and Rafa, please jump in anytime. Say hi right now to just so people know your voices, and then please jump in as I'm talking.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having us, Pooja, and very glad to be here to see all these interesting customers, over 200. So this is a very exciting webinar. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Thanks Pooja for having us here. And yeah, really excited about this session and ready to answer any questions that you guys might have.
All right, thank you both. Let's get started. So what will we cover? We will cover first the basics around content governance, then we will dive deep into each of those capabilities and do a live demo of the content governance capabilities. And throughout this, we will take questions. I keep a very close eye at the Q&A panel. So if there are any questions that are coming up, I'll keep taking them along the way, and we will also pause for any questions. I would request you to please limit the questions that you're asking in the Q&A panel related to the topic. Any generic employee center deployment questions, we have an office hour for that. And in fact, the very next one is next week. Please bring your questions around migrations, taxonomy, testing and configuring employee center, or anything around that to these office hours. You can register for this using the link that is on the chat, or you can use the QR code on the screen right now. We also have a content experiences office hour, and this will cover content governance and many other employee communications capabilities that Employee Center Pro provides. So anything that we cannot answer today, we can follow up in the office hours. So I do want to bring it up as the back of your pocket as one thing that you should keep an eye out on and participate. We do a lot of demos in this, as well as do a lot of similar live configurations as part of these office hour, and it's extremely Q&A focused. So you will love those when you will attend. Last but not the least, we recently did an update to the Employee Center Product Hub on ServiceNow community. So you can see the link for that. We've kind of made it easy to find resources that were hidden behind the scenes on this product hub. And the resources span from everything from FAQs to implementation guide to best practice guidances and lots of events. So please make sure you are continuously going on Employee Center community and leveraging these resources. Okay, so our first step into the topic for today is understanding what content governance is. So let me separate out the application or other technology to with the content governance as a discipline. Like, what do we mean when we hear the term content governance? And the things that you see on the slide here are all the different things that I've heard organizations talk about when they talk about content governance. So it is everything from doing version control on your content. It is delegating ownership. So your team is not the only team that has to maintain all the content. Tracking and fulfilling requests. There's one team that is asking some content to be created. How do you track it? How do you fulfill it as a workflow? How do you make sure only approved content is published to end users, and how do you restrict who can publish what content? All of these are different flavors of content governance. And when people think about content, there are different types of content that they are thinking about. They're thinking about service content. It's a very common thing that people will start off with. These are the request forms, like service catalog items. They are knowledge articles. There is communication content. There's banners, videos, events, rich content, like the ones that you have on the microsites, news articles, and so on. And then people also think portal content, like topic pages, icons on the portal, imagery, all of that to be also content. And you can imagine everything that is on the left-hand side of this slide to be applied to all these different kinds of content. Now, that is a very, very vast discussion. So because we have limited time today, we will focus only on communication content. And I want to highlight communication content comes with Employee Center Pro license. So with that, everything that we will talk about today is related to Employee Center Pro. And I'll call it out repeatedly across the rest of this session. Now, we just spoke about content governance as a discipline. If you are familiar with Employee Center Pro and the applications in its suite and that are dependent to it and its employee communication capabilities, you may be familiar that there is a content governance application as well. And essentially what content governance application provides is an end-to-end workflow to what I term as employee communication as service. So this is sort of my term that I use to describe it. And what it is essentially, it's a predefined process or a workflow for end users to place communication requests and content authors to fulfill those requests with automated workflows to review and approve those requests. So essentially, the application only focuses on like two particular aspects of everything that could be content governance. So it is only focusing on tracking and fulfilling requests and reviewing and approving those requests. Now, this application and how we do these two components are going to be the focus for this conversation. So when we do the demo, we will focus on this aspect and see how that entire workflow works. But I want to still talk about the other aspects, and if there is time, we will go into the demo as well. So we do have capabilities within Employee Center Pro to delegate ownership and to restrict publishing of as you delegate ownership, you're essentially restricting the ability to publish depending on what you have ownership for. And the restriction can be at multiple different levels. And all of this is going to be associated it's going to be defined using a set of properties. The first way to restrict is to restrict at the audience level. So essentially, certain set of people can only publish for a certain defined set of audiences. And these audiences, of course, can be dependent based on location, region, or role-based, or any other set of definition that you have used when you define audience. The second one is going to be restricting at a portal page or a topic page level. So essentially you say, I have 5 set of content authors, and these content authors specialize in any HR related topic, or they're specialized in like travel related topic, and they can essentially only post content within those pages. And you can also restrict publishing right based on content item level. And this is specifically important for sensitive content. Let's say you have a news article that is, that you are preparing for a big leadership transition. You don't want all your content managers to be able to see it. So you want a small set of content managers to only preview it before it goes live. So you restrict it. So we will see aspect of this and how to set these properties in the demo if there is time, but I did want to call this out. Lastly, so just one more thing. In terms of roles, there is a content admin role who would have full access to add and edit and publish content. But there's also a content manager role who would have, again, restricted access based on what is assigned and what is unassigned to them. So you can become really granular in terms of these ownership is what this page is calling out. And as you can see, there are like different levels. There is audience level, content item level, topic or a page level that you can also define the publishing rights for. Now, last but not the least is the version control. And if you have been tracking our releases, we recently added a new component to manage versions for communication content. And this includes literally reviewing the entire content states, like, whether it's in draft, it's in approval state, is it published, is it retired? And the whole ability to check out and move a published article before it is edited. And this process would essentially create a new version. Then you mark it published as you are done editing that version. And what the module is doing is it's tracking this entire history that is being created when you check out and publish the articles. So it is maintaining who made the change, the time and date of change, and additional details around it, and also, what exactly the change was. When I'll be doing the demo, you would see across the session, you would see versions being created, and I'll have to click checkout and publish to kind of see that, and I'll call it out whenever possible to showcase this. Okay. Before I dive deep into the content governance application and start talking about how the workflow flows, let's see, Corey, Rafa, are there any questions in the chat or in the Q&A panel, hopefully, that we want to answer?
We had one question about multi-level content ownership and restriction. So I think that one was a good one because we do enable restriction at the audience level, at the topic level, at the page level, and at the content level. So depending on how you wish to kind of set up your ownership hierarchies, you absolutely can select one or more of those for your users to be assigned. So for instance, you could assign a user to a specific location via the audience ownership, as well as a topic page. So maybe it's a topic page for a given location. So that is absolutely possible. And then just a reminder to ask your questions in the Q&A so that everybody can see them and have a record of them.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey.
Yep.
I'll keep moving forward, but please pause me if you think there's any question that we should highlight. All right. So when do we use, before we go there, I want to clarify one thing. When we think about employee communications and all the communication suite of applications that come with Employee Center Pro, there are more than one of it. So one is, of course, content publishing, and this provides the entire capability to create, to manage. So like the version management, the definition of ownership, all of that is also part of content publishing, and then publish across different channels. we have content experiences. This provides the campaign capability. Essentially, you want to tie different content items together in a campaign and run it as a multi-stage, multi-channel, communication campaign. That capability is provided by our content experiences app. And then there are other applications like the content governance one, which I will talk about. And then you would also see content analytics, which provides the dashboards and metrics in tracking the success and impact of your campaigns. Now, when you download Employee Center Pro, and this is something I really want to highlight, only content publishing and content experiences is auto-downloaded. So when you do want to get the content governance capabilities, you have to do a separate download for it or a separate install from the ServiceNow store. So keep an eye on this. It doesn't automatically update as well. So you have to do an update to Employee Center Pro, then you do an update to content governance or content analytics to get the latest version. So when would you want to use content governance? And given that it's a workflow to request and fulfill requests, it's kind of obvious that if I want to, if I have a central group of communication authors and I want to offer their services to other parts of your organization, then you would want to use something like that. In an absence of a workflow like this, typically the entire flow of communication happens via emails, and we have seen that very often. It also helps you to make sure the requests are assigned to right set of people within your team. So let's say even if you are getting a set of requests, it's very hard to manually triage those requests and give it track those requests and fulfill them, distributed within your team. So it's very difficult to do that. So that's another important use case for thinking about using content governance. And then often there are small set of people that you want to provide, who would potentially want to create communication content frequently, but you want the oversight of your communication authors. So you want to enable them, but at the same time, you want to maintain your small set of content authors. You would give them the right to request communications, and so on. So this slide will be available. Feel free to read through the rest of these, but essentially it will avoid a lot of back and forth that happens while a communication content is created on emails. So it simplifies that whole workflow and makes work more efficiently created from a communication authoring standpoint. Now, if you think about the roles and personas within it, there is a requester role. So this is one individual within your organization, an employee or a portal user who would access what we call a content request item form and request the communication. You don't really need a role for this, but the access for the requester persona can be controlled via user criteria. So you can limit it that, I want this request item to be only available to a small set of people, and not that anyone in the organization can start placing communication requests. And then you do have the content admin and content manager. Out of box, they are automatically provided all the rights that are required to use the content governance capabilities once you download the content governance. And you can, of course, amplify it and add more people to be able to do it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the workflow via slides, and then we will do that in the demo, just so that you understand it fully. So let me do it via slides first. So the first step of the process is, of course, an employee placing a content request. And as you will see in the demo, we have a pre-built content request form. We've made it searchable. We've not really tied it with a taxonomy, but this is something that you can pick up, make it a quick link, or tie it with the desired taxonomy. The good thing about this is when the user or the employee submits this request, it is actually tracked as part of their My Request page. So it's the same page where they would go for any other request that they make in the organization. It's an IT request, HR request, and now also communication request that they would go to the same page for. Now, one more thing that I want to highlight, the form that we ship out of box is designed to be generalized in nature currently. Because the way you would want to get the content request may vary quite a bit from company to company. So generally, we recommend that you have a knowledge article that kind of explains how you would want that employee to fill this request item and then attach it with it. Or you can build that guidance as part of description in this request. Then this request is actually received on the content governance module at the back end. And the content admins can go there, they can assign it to whoever they want it to. They have the entire set of field to review the state it is in, to chat with the requester, request for more details, just like any other fulfillment or like a request item functions within ServiceNow. And the good thing from here is once it is assigned, a content item is automatically created. And what you see over here is the item view of it. So all of these capabilities are also provided from the content item. Now, another nice thing about this is the once assigned, the author can essentially just hit create content and it would invoke the content library view, which is the regular view that the content author would use for creating any other content. And directly from here, they can choose what type of content they need. They can work through the content, design it, and you can see it like from the second screenshot that it is tracking that it is part of a request. And I'll call it out when we get into a demo as well.
Hey, Pooja, can I jump in real quick? Because actually
Yep.
that entire screen is kind of a good visual. We're getting a lot of questions, and this is very common. So I want to just make sure that everyone understands that you guys can hear me, right? Okay, yeah. What we're talking about in this seminar is communications content that is being requested, tracked, and created through the content library within content publishing. That's part of your EC Pro SKU, and it's the content and communications capabilities that come with that. It does not apply to knowledge. So knowledge has its own set of kind of workflows and same with catalog. They have their own set of workflows and governance that are kind of built in to those products. And so we're getting a lot of questions about that, but I just wanted to be really clear that what Pooja is showing is our communications capabilities. So things like banners, news articles, microsites that you might add to a topic page or a custom portal page, videos, things like that. So just want to make sure everyone really understands that, because we are getting lots of questions about catalog and knowledge.
Yep. Thank you, Corey, for clarifying that. Yeah, when people think about content, it is very most people start thinking from that. But here in this scope, we are talking about all the content that essentially you would manage as part of your content library.
Yeah, and you can kind of see the visual of that screenshot on the left there, that kind of houses where you start the creation of that content.
Mm-hmm. All right. So when you get to the review, once you're ready with it, you can all they have to do is hit ready for publishing, and then they can go back if they want to add more approvers to it. They can add to it, and once they hit the ready to publish, the request to approve actually goes to all their approvers, and the approvers are the requester by default, and also the other approvers that the requester may have asked for or the author may add. So you could have approvers both from the requester side as well as from the content creator side. And then the cool thing is the approval actually goes as part of the My Task. So it's literally consolidating all the other approvals. You can preview the content directly from the My Task view on the portal. You don't have to go to a different system and preview it. You can preview it. You can add comments. You can, like, if you don't like it, you can, like, not approve it and then give your comments on why you're doing that. And it's a very, very seamless experience. And then once everything is approved, all the content manager has to do is switch the state to published and the content is made available. Okay, so before I get to the demo, any other question that you think, Corey, we should clarify?
No, I think let's see, the rest of these can probably be answered through the Q&A panel. So we're cranking away on these.
Awesome. Let me start my screen. Let's get to the demo in that case. Okay, so hopefully you all can see my screen. It should have the browser view on it. Now I'm logged in as a system admin, but I will impersonate and log in as just a generic employee. And in our case, it's going to be Able. Probably needs a little bit of refresh. Let's see. Okay, so we got Able. And Able is a frequent requester of content. So you would see, like, he has it as part of his recommended for you widget. So he picks that up. Okay, so he says, I would like, he gets this form, he reviews it broadly. He says, I would want the communication to be portal. I want it to be a banner, which employees, and he says, I want, let's say, all employees to see it. The start date for is for the interest of demo, I'm going to say today, just so I can show the end result for it. And the end date is 27th, let's say. He thinks maybe Fred should review it before we send it out because it's an important communication. Then he starts getting into what the details around communication that he wants. And the detail is that there is a new health and wellness initiative where there's a fitness and sports community created that he would like people to join. Community created for all employees to participate in. Let's just say he gives a little bit of description. He gives a URL. For the interest of time, I'm just going to say URL. He adds an attachment. If he doesn't attach it the first time, he can always attach it later on. But we are going to attach it right now. Okay. There's an attachment here, and he hits submit. And as soon as he hits submit, this would actually get inside the My Request form. He can see what image he has seen. He can see the request details. If he wants to add any additional attachments or change the attachments, he can do that from here. Okay, so now let's get into the back end of it. This is going to be a content admin view. And I'm going to impersonate as my content admin. And that's Celia. Right, and Celia is going to go to content governance. and she sees all the unassigned requests, and she sees one that is just recently posted by Abel, and she goes on it. There are a couple more. She's interested in the one from Abel. She first thing she does is go ahead and assigns it to herself. Now you could assign it to a group. You could assign it. So you could like right now we have like 2 groups set up. So you could like assign it to a group. You can assign it to an individual as well, and then you go ahead and make the due date to be tomorrow, let's say, and then you update it. You go back, assign to me. You can see a content item is automatically created. Since I've started working on it, I'm going to keep the state as work in progress. Move back. Then go to the content item, and then I hit create content. Now, as you can see, this is the content library view. So again, emphasizing on what Corey was saying earlier, these are all the different types of content that you could use the content governance module for. And these are all communication content. So let's say the content author picks up the rich content. That's what they're requesting. I think they had said banner, but in a conversation, they decided to make it a rich content. So this is Abel. So we open editor. Let's say I do a site layout. I pick an image. Here's my image. Then I say something around let's say I decide to add a button to it, which would give like registration details. And for the sake of it, I'm not adding URL. Otherwise, you can just go on the properties for this button and add a URL, and you can even define additional parameters for it. And then I hit save and finish. So you can see a preview for it is created for me as well. I have the entire language module here. So like, if I want to do translations, I want to like convert it into a different language. Because this is part of the content library module, you have all those capabilities available here as well. Then I go on publish, and I build a publishing plan. Let's say this is announcement. I decide the location to be portal, and then our page is the taxonomy page, and all these details Abel can actually define in the form. Select the topic, let's do health and wellness. And Abel wanted it to be all active users. And then he wanted it for a certain duration. So we say from today till 27th. Okay. And I say save publish plan. Now, a couple of things, as like you see this send for review, and as soon as I hit this, this would go as an approval to all the approvers. Now over here, you can see the content request item that is highlighted. So it's kind of automatically tagged with the requester, with the request item. Now, going back to Able, a couple of things that I didn't call out when we were doing. Um, we we could specify where you want this content. When you could say that we want this to be a particular topic page, and we have defined like author. So I was very quick on it. So this is the approver that Able had already defined. So I'm gonna go back to the view and then go and publish and say send for review. As soon as this is done, you can go back here, say view content record. So yeah, so where is the yeah, so you can see the manage approvers here, and if I say like I want to add additional approver, I can go ahead and add additional approvers for this request. At the same time, I can keep track of who all are the approvers for this, what state the approval is at, and monitor where this current state is. Now let's go ahead and start approving these so you can see the final outcome. So I go back on the My Request page. Now this is Able, and this person will be able to see the communication request available as a task for him. So this is the request. You can see all the details are available over here. What is the taxonomy? What is the topic? What page it is being positioned for? Who's the audience? Start and end dates. And also you can preview the content directly from there. So you preview the content. It is on the health and safety. This is what the page is going to look like. You like it, you come back and you say approve. So, and on the other hand, the content author will see the workflow progress. So you can see this state move to approve. And now we are going to impersonate as Fred Luddy and do our second approval as well. So Fred Luddy would also receive this request as an approval under the My Task. Okay. Approve it from here. He could perform the same steps and like checks and verify all the details as well. And on the other side, once we refresh it, the content author can see, okay, both the requests have been approved. So she moves it to publish state. Update. Once this is published, we should be able to see the updated, the content updated in the actual page. So I navigate to health and wellness, and there you can see the microsite that we created in just a minute actually available for users. So let me pause here. Quick questions on this before we dive into like the other aspects.
Yeah, I can throw out just some common questions that we've been getting. So definitely a lot of questions around translations. So just want to make sure that everyone understands that the content that Pooja is showing in this workflow is all there is definitely translation capabilities. You do have to activate the localization kind of properties to have the localization framework actually be kind of show up. But you can see right here that you can get your content translated and then switch between them to to kind of preview it and tweak once the translations have been completed. And we do have an integration with localization framework so that you can utilize either third parties or internal translation departments, or even machine translation services from Microsoft, Google, or whomever you use. So that is definitely part of this workflow, and the out-of-the-box request form detects whether your translations are available, like your languages are available on the instance, and allows you to add translations to the request. So that was a big topic. The other one is around preview. So anything can be previewed in line, as you saw from Pooja's demo there, and that's both on the content author side and the approver side. So the approvers, the stakeholders, can definitely see the content before it goes live, but the content author can as well. They can always look at it before even switching the state and sending it for approval. So that feature's been around for quite some time. And let's see, I think there are some questions around automated workflows, like, if you get requests for certain topics or locations or content types. We don't have automation around that. You can build fulfiller groups and assignee groups to have those assigned. But out of the box, we do not have that automated yet. It is an enhancement we're looking at. So those are some of the key questions we've gotten.
Awesome, thank you. And this is essentially a workflow. So, like in how you would manage any other request workflow, you can make similar changes in terms of, how do you define priority? How do you define SLAs? How do you want to track all of those? So you can treat it the same way. Now, getting to the other aspects of content governance. So I want to highlight a couple of things. So we recently just published this microsite component, or rich content. You see this checkout button. So if I want to make any edits to this, I will have to check it out. And as soon as I hit checkout, there's a new version that is created for it. So all the changes that I would make to it now will be tracked as part of this version. And let's say, I don't make any changes and I still save it. I say save and publish. It creates another version. And you can track all of these as if you just go on the change record, you can see the change history created, and you can see who modified it, when did they modify it, what is the current version that is live. If you want to change that, you can see that. So this is essentially the version history, and you can do it with all content types. I'm showcasing on what we had just created, but this is what we had recently launched, and you can apply it to all the communication content. Now, again, knowledge has its own version management. This is not talking about that. This is only communication content. Anything you want to add to this, Corey?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Awesome. So this kind of is the basic around the version management, and we do plan to continuously add additional capabilities on that. The next thing I want to highlight is content ownership. And this is often confusing for people. So content governance is not like from a technical application and what the application provides. Content governance does not equate to content ownership definition. Content ownership definition is actually happening through the properties within content publishing. So if you go on content publishing and you go on advanced and properties within that, it's here that you are defining whether you want to enable ownership or not. And then once you enable the level of ownership that you want, you would see additional tab available on each of these modules, around. I'll showcase that to define the ownership that you want to create for that particular piece. So right now in these properties, out of box, these are not turned on. So I turned them on just so I could demo them. Out of box, we do have the content versioning enabled. So you would see that happen. So right now I have allowed ownership for audiences, content type, topics, and pages, all of those. And now let me showcase how this would function in a couple of places. So let's say we go on audiences. Now, in my instance, have all these different audiences defined for communication content. And someone was asking whether it can be user criteria or HR criteria. I think I saw a question around that. So it can be any of those. So you can use any of those to define. You can even use an Excel and say, I just want this small set of users to have to be in a given audience table that I want to. So you could do that as well. So for example, the ECFEB demo is essentially just have a couple of users that we wanted to add as an audience. So let's say non-US users, we just pick it up. And when you go on that, you can see, you can restrict who can make changes to this audience or who can publish to this audience based by saying these are the users who can publish it, like content for these audiences, or you can even do it by group. So you would see both of these added over here. So group is essentially like a content admin or a content manager. You would need that, or you can define a new group. So you can do this. I'm showcasing this at an audience level. Actually, let me showcase this at a topic page as well. So let's go on topics. Very common question that we get. So these are all my topics. Let's say I go on computers. And once you have the content ownership enabled, you can see these two things added on your topic configuration page. So you can define on this topic page which are the groups that can publish communication content on this topic, or which are the users who can publish communication content on it. And once you have assigned the ownership to someone, it's only those who have ownership rights can make changes. But let's say you have not defined any ownership right. This is very important to know. That means anyone can make changes to it. So because right now we don't have anything defined for content publishing owner tabs under those, anyone who has a content authoring or who can content author can actually publish content on the computer's topic page. So you need to define it to restrict it. So that kind of covers at the high level what are the different bases for content governance within Employee Center Pro for communication. We still have like around 5 minutes, so I'm happy to open it up for additional questions. And Corey, Rafa, any additional details you want to add to the demo or to the concept? Then yeah, floor is yours.
Sure. Yeah, there was one specific question that was a pretty good one that I think is worth highlighting, which is if we can use content governance without sending a request from the ESC portal. Right? And the answer is basically yes. Content admins and managers can go to content governance, create those requests manually in those lists, in those forms, and then fulfill them without needing a request sent from the ESC portal using the request form.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that. There was another question. Speaking of, there was another question about can multiple content items be requested? And so out of the box, the form only allows for one at the moment, but there are ways to kind of work around that. You can, the employee requesters can still have conversations with the fulfiller through the activity stream. They can use the text area to, kind of communicate that they would love, let's say, a banner, plus we have this video we'd like to run alongside it. So there are ways that the two can communicate, and the content manager who's fulfilling the content request can go into that content request and manually create a new request item that a second or third or more content item can be associated with. So it is possible to create multiple content items associated to multiple content item requests within this single request.
Yeah, and if you would see, like I have a request that is received in the content governance open, this is the automatically created, but you do have an option to create.
Exactly. And so each of those request items would correlate to a separate content item.
And like I was saying in the beginning, the form that we ship out of box is a little general. So we do encourage to make it how you want it, and you can sort of provide instructions that use the additional column uh, form, the option, the question, to provide us details on what exactly you want, and we can work with you throughout the process. The idea is to minimize the number of emails that's sent and work it directly through the request form.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me see if there are any other questions.
There was one question that I think it's more about rich content and governance, or even content that governance itself, about accessibility. In fact, there were two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that we fully support accessibility for all content types, and even for the rich content. We provide all the options to be WCAG 2.1 compliance. It's just that some of the options need to be fulfilled by the creator, right? Like alternative text and other stuff. So
Okay. I do want to showcase the content request item. Just give me a second if I can navigate to it. Oh, wait, I need to become a system administrator and then I can see the content item. Our content author does not have access to everything in the system. So, maintain items. Yeah. So if you go on maintain items, I want to showcase like what the form looks like and what all you can do, because I'm seeing some questions around it. So this is the configuration page for the content request. It is in the content governance application scope, so you would have to switch to that application scope to see different aspects for it. This is my employee instance, so it is a little slow, so just give it a second. But what you will see once it is ready, that you can do any sort of configuration and like restrictions and SLA definition the same as you would do for any other catalog item. And you can also associate it with a topic page or a catalog that you would want to associate it with directly from the content item administration page. See, so you have all the different things. Who is it available for? Who is it not available for? What categories? Related articles, assigned topics that you would want to associate with it. All of that can be defined right here. Okay. Cool. With that, hopefully this was helpful, and we will see you again. Like first, definitely make use of all our resources, and then we will. I hope to see you in one of the office hours for any additional questions. We will also post the Q&A that was discussed in this session on the community event page, so feel free to review it. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of your day.
Good stuff. Thanks, everybody.